Meteorologist Matt Makins here. Welcome to Snow Bros. It's Thursday, January 22nd, an afternoon update for you. Look right in here. See this perfectly formed curlicue? That is the Baja system, the low pressure area that's grabbing a lot of water to throw across the country. And up to the north, different curlicue. This one's grabbing cold, Arctic cold, spreading it down southward. And this combination is what Brian and I have been focusing on for you all on this new channel for the last several days. Here's the update. Since Brian's video earlier today, there's been additional wiggles or shifts in the storm track. Another little jolt to the north. That means for New England, you're increasing your potential for deeper snows than what Brian had previously, and we're going to bring that ice very, very close to a number of spots. We'll chat on that throughout this video. Just generally, snowfall from the southwestern U.S. crisscrosses the country, about 2,000 miles worth of a snow swath of 6 to 12 inches for a lot of folks. And the ice, still getting a lot of headlines. The ice formation around Texas and Oklahoma, going through Arkansas, Louisiana, stretching toward Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, north side of Atlanta, toward D.C. The icing area has only shown a very subtle shift versus what Brian has shown to you this morning. Very minor there. The snowfall, however, has had a bigger shift, and it's pinpointing even deeper snows for around Boston and that area. We'll have more on that in a second. Let's take a look at the timeline. So here we are. The cold air is plunging southward throughout the day today into tonight and down to the southwest. That's our low. It's grabbing that humid tropical air and it's throwing it up straight at that cold air, and the collision happens during the day Friday. Here's a timeline, just updated this from what Brian had, so this is the latest data. This is 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. We have snow from Billings to Pierre to Denver down to the south into Oklahoma. Already seeing ice forming here in parts of Oklahoma, down toward Dallas in the form of rainfall. This is Friday at 7 p.m. Drive time home. After school, snow's getting heavier in Kansas. Icing is getting thicker in Oklahoma and Texas. Still rain in Dallas. We go into Saturday early morning, Saturday mid-morning, Saturday afternoon. You can see the focal point here. Deep snows to the north. In the middle, icing. To the south, chilly rainfall. And this continues. This is Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Huge area of ice here from almost El Paso, but close to Midland, Texas, to Nashville, stretching out toward Charlotte. Snowfall now, D.C., Cleveland, Chicago, Kansas City, and south of, so deeper snows there. As we get into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, similar timeline to what Brian showed you, so I'll skip through this quickly. The system pushes off to the east. It clears Texas and Oklahoma, but right here at 1 o'clock Sunday, it's starting to ramp up, getting extra strength. And as it moves closer to the mid-Atlantic, New England, the Northeast, it starts to develop the low a little bit more strongly here, grabbing water, potentially ice around D.C., ice potentially into New York, and Boston just on the edge of ice. We'll zoom this map in just a second, just giving a broad brush overview, again, so that we're all cut up and back onto one page here. Once we hit Monday afternoon, there's still snow to the northeast over New England, Great Lakes, Canada, but most of the south and the southeast has a chance to catch their breath and begin to recover. Just some minor refinements to the timeline here for the south and the southeast. This is Friday at noon. We have icing along I-40 and south of, snow along I-40 and north of through Oklahoma, around Dallas, I-20 down through I-35, through Texas, mostly in the form of rainfall. Let's get into the evening hours. This is going to be from lunch hour to 6 o'clock. Now we have heavier icing moving south of I-40, approaching I-20. As we get into Saturday at midnight Central Time, icing is now between 40 and 20. So Dallas, we're seeing the ice beginning to arrive, heading your way, changing over from that rainfall, and heavier snowfall along I-40 and north for Oklahoma City and Tulsa. That's 6 a.m. on Saturday. Then we grab that ice and we stretch it out toward Memphis and Nashville along 40 during the day Saturday. This is Saturday in the evening. Now we've pulled that ice out toward Knoxville and beyond along I-40. Meanwhile, it's still going gangbusters here out over the southern plains. Heavy snow, heavy icing. Get into Sunday morning, the icing continues to traverse across the southeastern U.S. And again, just some minor refinements to that timeline that Brian showed you this morning. We're watching this data diligently. Any updates, make sure you're subscribed. You'll get the alert when we update. because if we update, there have been some changes to the data and how we are viewing it. This is a look at the snowfall totals now. Amarillo around 6 inches. You're right on the edge though. Oklahoma City and Tulsa 9s and 10s. Again, kind of a 6 to 12 inch swath would be more appropriate to say at this time, just to account for any wiggle room here. Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, a touch of snowfall, but we're more worried about ice in this area. Here is the ice accumulations all along I-10, I-20, and I-40 through this swath. Anywhere from Dallas to Shreveport, Memphis, Jackson, Nashville, Knoxville, Atlanta, and Columbia. Everybody has a chance for some of this ice. However, what's been consistent is Memphis to Shreveport to Dallas, in that kind of triangular area, if you will. That's where the heaviest icing appears to have stayed versus previous updates. Let's shift just to the southeast a little bit more to bring in more people. Don't want to leave anybody out. So here's Louisville at 14.5 inches. Again, kind of an 8 to 14, 8 to 15 range would be most appropriate at this time. Charleston's close to 9. Morgantown, Winchester down to Roanoke. That's where we see the heavier snowfall kind of subside here as you go down to the south. So we have South Carolina, North Carolina. You move into Virginia. As you progressively go northward through Virginia along I-95, that's where you're going to run into some snowfall, closer to the nation's capital. That's snow and an ice combined there. Speaking of ice, here are the ice totals for this part of the region. Charlotte, Columbia, Florence, Fayetteville, Raleigh, Winston-Salem, Greenville all have to worry about some ice accumulation. Richmond, though, at a ½ inch. If that verifies, that's detrimental on power, trees. That's a ½ inch glaze everywhere. Obviously, we can't do anything with the ice once it's there. Can't really treat it, can't move it. It's unlike snowfall, so unfortunately power outages will be possible there all across the south, the southeast, and close to the mid-Atlantic at times. Speaking of that, there are some bigger changes happening here. This is New England, so we've got Maine, we've got the Maritimes coming up here. There's Philly, Baltimore, and D.C., just to orient yourself. Here are some of the wiggles that have happened since the last update. And as we go forward in time, we have this additional kind of pockets of snow, light to moderate for the next couple of days. But watch as I cruise and get us going into this weekend. Here's Saturday at lunch, Saturday at dinner. Here we're coming up Sunday while we're sleeping. That's when heavy snow has arrived in D.C., Baltimore, and Philly. Sunday morning, grabbing breakfast. D.C., Baltimore, Philly, New York, into Hartford, Providence, and approaching Boston will be the heavier snowfall. Sunday for lunch, look what happens. If we have a coating of snow in Philly, Baltimore, and D.C. from the early activity, look what's moving in. The chance for some ice on top of that snowfall. Think of the travel there along I-95. Let's watch that ice area move northward, close to New York City by 7 o'clock Sunday night. What may save a lot of the mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, and New England from much ice would be the timing of this system. If it doesn't slow down, it's going to move through with greatest impact in the overnight hours, colder, less ice, more snowfall. And that's why some of the totals have jumped up here. This is Monday morning. Let's stop at the drive time in Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Here's I-90 from Syracuse to Boston. We got 95 coming down through here, and we're still seeing heavy snowfall in parts of the New England states up into Maine, down east. Still getting some very heavy snowfall, and at this point, that's where we're spreading that heavier snow into the Canadian Maritimes. There's the center of the system right in here. Watch in future updates with Brian and I where the center may be. It may shift even farther to the north, which would bring in more of a rain or icing chance to much of the mid-Atlantic and New England states, and it may also impact coastal areas of Maine, so down East Maine. Into St. John, Moncton, Charlottetown, Halifax. Yeah, we've got to worry about that icing potential there too if this system drifts any bit farther north, which has been the trend here recently. As we get into Monday, Tuesday now, and Wednesday, we're just dealing with additional snow, yes, but the main system is now well offshore by this point. So again, just a couple of refinements there based on the timeline from what Brian showed you earlier today. Let me show you the jump in some of the snowfall totals though, and you'll see higher totals now. Boston, higher than a foot now. Right around a foot in Hartford. Syracuse, we've increased that snowfall total, some lake effect coming in there a bit stronger, but you can see just that northward shift and a timing difference, very minor timing difference, but enough to get us some more snowfall here. Yarmouth, 26 centimeters, but here's Augusta, close to 9 inches. And again, these are, I call out the numbers, and Brian does too, like 8, 8.5 for Baltimore, close to 9 for DC. That's a ballpark estimate, right? You got to build in that range for uncertainties, some initial melting and whatnot, but you get the idea here. We've increased those totals for much of the Boston area for one, Providence and Hartford. Those totals are higher than what Brian had shown earlier, just based on some of these data refinements, the little northward shift that we've noticed throughout the morning hours and now into the midday and afternoon. I focused here on I-70. So we have the DC area, okay? Here's I-70 as it goes out toward Columbus. Big pocket of snowfall in there, just southwest of Harrisburg, southeast of Pittsburgh. Those two may see about a foot of snowfall. It'd be closer to 1.5 feet, if not 2 feet, just down to the south. And also look, Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, a little bit of lake effect there. Got some cold. You're going to have that deeper snowfall. Here's a look at just DC. Alexandria at 8, Fredericksburg 6.3, Annapolis 8.3, 8.5, close to that in Baltimore. Dover at 8.3. I don't want to leave York out, at 12.5. Hagerstown about 12.7. Here's Philly and Atlantic City, more than a half foot of total snowfall. And if we continue just to cruise up I-95, there's New York City. We just focused kind of on this area for just a moment ago, but New York City close to 8. We're getting close to 9s in a lot of cases. Here we are close to 12. We're over 12 in Albany. Out towards Scranton, we're closing in on a foot with the data adjustments. 11s, 12s, 13s now. As you go out toward the Cape, there's New Bedford at 11. Boston, 12.5. Salem, close to 12. Manchester, about 10.3, So we're seeing these totals. No, it's not a dramatic increase, but a couple to a few more inches in a lot of cases versus what we had this morning. And again, it's the same northward little shift that Brian thought we would see, and indeed we have seen it in some of the most recent data. I don't want to leave Eastern Canada out, so here we have Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. Here out toward Newfoundland, we're looking at 20s, 30s, upwards of 40 centimeters of snowfall, mostly in the 20 centimeter range though for much of Canada. Now that may shift if that storm, that low, shifts any bit farther to the north. So what we're tracking for you, yeah, we did this update based on some data changes today, but ice coverage, snow depths, and duration of cold, all pretty much on track. The center of the storm system has wiggled northward a bit, as we've talked about, so let's look for additional storm shifts impacting the northeast. And what would those impacts be? Well, tracking that ice and snow kind of cutoff line. How much farther north do we have to worry about the icing? Or rain versus icing, or icing versus snow? All of those things come together over the next probably 24, 36 hours or so. And if you're subscribed, you'll get the latest. Now, I didn't do much of a breakdown of a lot of the cities. I know you're watching. You're like, hey, you didn't mention me. Put it in the comments. Let us know where you are. If you have a quick question about, hey, how much ice do you think? Can you ballpark some snow estimates for XYZ location? Put them in the comments. We're watching them. We'll respond throughout the course of the day. For Brian Shields, I'm meteorologist Matt Makins. Stay well, stay warm, and have a good day.